Hello. I wanted to kind of give some pointers really quick about if you're considering joining. Sorry. Hello. I am wanting to do a video just to give you guys some quick pointers if you're interested in starting a women's circle, spiritually based. Hello. Fuck. Hello. So this video is about if you wanted to and are interested in starting a women's group circle, spiritually based circle. And just wanted to give you some quick tips and advice on some things that I feel that worked well for me and that I learned from other circles that I've attended, who I also helped model my circle, Dark of the Moon Circle, after. Like any other kind of advice giving, you decide what is appropriate for your circle and for your group. These are just what worked for me. So I'm going to start with the basics, which is yourself. Be clear about your intention of why you are doing your circle, and also be clear of what your message is of what the circle is about. Those are probably the two most important things. Definitely, keep in mind that the point of facilitating, of course, is to be of service to other people. It doesn't mean that you don't get to share yourself and that you don't get anything yourself, but it's always the women first, so make sure you're coming from that direction. The second part is the, setting out what is the circle actually about to other people. It's important that you describe a clear image of what it is that they're coming for, and that will help draw the people that are supposed to be there. So, one thing that I learned from the Global Sisterhood, which is, I think it's unify.globalsisterhood.org, that I thought was really useful. They have like a set of affirmations that you can use before you even facilitate a circle. I say these every time I'm about to walk in the circle. It really helps me put me in the right mindset. It also kind of works as like a protection for myself to make sure that I'm not setting myself up for feelings of failure or guilt or it's a really good way to start. So the affirmation goes like this: I fully trust myself and the process of my sister circle. And then I'll say it again. I fully trust myself and the process of my sister circle. I am called to step into this leadership role because there are women in my community who are yearning for this experience. I trust that whatever happens during the circle will support my highest transformation. I really feel like this one's really strong because sometimes things don't go the way you want it to be, but maybe that's because it had to be that way. I am here to show up fully exactly as I am, and I am not responsible for the experience of the women who are joining in my circle. I suffer from caretaker guilt of, did I do everything right? Is it really what they needed? And that kind of a thing. So that affirmation really helps me with that because I know that I came and I did what I was supposed to do, and what they take from it is really a matter of their perspective and, what was working for them. And then the last one is I'm guided by spirit and will use my intuition to guide me. That one I added. They didn't have that one at the end. But that kind of sets the trigger of being more of a conduit rather than just speaking from my own experience. Setting the intention of saying, I'm working from my intuition, not just my knowledge. And not just my habits too. So, creating some kind of at least like mental, energetic setup before you even do it is a really good idea. I actually have even, made sure to put prayers out there, just being like, Spirit, universe, I'm asking you to bring the people to me that will really benefit from this, and I ask you to protect my circle from those who choose to either do harm or criticize others. So, speak to God, speak to the universe, and say what you want and what you don't want. And then, so there's some key elements. You know, obviously I have more of a experience with specifically moon circles, so I'll talk mostly about that. There's a lot of different kind of women's circles that can happen. There's womb wellness circles. There's wild women's circles. But so I'm going to kind of stick to a general theme because you may not decide to do a moon specific women's circle, or maybe you will. So I'll try to stay a little bit more broad. In my outward advertising and as well in my circle, I make sure to introduce myself. And I think it's important for people to know what your background is and what you're into, so that they know whether they're going to resonate with that or not. You know, if I were to show up to a circle and it ends up it's just like one very specific topic or type of spiritual practitioner that I wasn't aware of, I would be a little thrown off myself. So so the basic structure, obviously, is whatever you decide to do, but definitely an introduction from where every person gets to speak before any work is done, I think is very important. Not only so that you know their names, but you can start to see what people are coming for and where they're coming from. And also gives them a chance to start easing into the circle. It's a little bit of an icebreaker. Even asking a specific question to answer while they go around the circle and introduce themselves is a good engagement point to get people to start opening up and sharing. I really believe that with any women's circle, having meditation at some point is vital, essential. And the reason why is because for some people that are coming, you know, this may be the only time in the entire month where they sit down and just don't think. Just allow themselves to be. And the power of meditating in a circle is very helpful, especially for those beginning in meditation, because the collective power, especially if you're very comfortable with meditation, you can help ground those people and you can help channel that energy, and you all support each other within that meditation. I also feel like any kind of meditation that encourages heart opening or sharing of energy is also very useful in getting women to energetically start to bond with each other and open up, so that once the sharing portion of the circle begins, they're more loosened up. So they're calm, they're relaxed, they're more aware, they're more in the present, they're more open. So that's very helpful. Definitely, unless it's like a straight up class or workshop, if it's a circle, there's got to be a sharing element at least a couple times, whether that's just introduction and then in a ceremonial part, or an introduction and then a discussion. But, you know, definitely a point of sharing. For the moon circles, sharing tends to happen very often within the releasing and receiving part of the circle. Which releasing is referring to, you know, everybody going around saying what kind of situations or people or energy or feelings, thoughts, habits, whatever, that they want to release. And then with receiving being, of course, what they are asking from the universe and from Goddess for help, support, and healing from. You know, 99.9% of circles, I think 100% of circles that are based on the moon and women, and specifically, always have a releasing and a healing part, or some kind of intention setting ceremony. So that's vital to make sure that never gets skipped on any circle. I had one circle where I planned so much, like of creative exercises and intuitive exercises, that we ran out of time before we got to do the release and receive, and I thought that was terrible. I mean, they got a lot out of it, everybody was cool with it because they're sweet people, but that was a no-no. I think it's also important, I've been to some circles that they just kind of talk about the moon in general, or the idea is that we're just gathering under the moon, and they don't really talk about anything astrologically or do any storytelling about the wisdom and folklore of the moon and its connection to the feminine divine. I think it helps. That's your choice. I think, you know, as long as you're gathering them together with the intention of, you know, bonding and sharing and releasing and receiving, I think you're good to go. The extent to which you want to go into the astrological and all that kind of detail behind the moon and where we are zodiac wise, that's really your choice. I obviously do a lot of that. I think it's really important, just mostly because magic is, and I'm talking about magic in the sense of like, you know, if we're asking the universe to release and receive, then we're believing in some way, shape, or form that we're being listened to. So, magic is almost like the timing, the lunar phase, and then using that knowledge to put together. That's my belief. So that's why I like to try to release and receive things specifically that are at a heightened point of awareness for that particular moon. So that's something to consider. You know, do you want to ask them in a release and receive kind of situation? You know, try to think about if it's like a moon that's all about communication, like it's a Gemini moon. Okay, you know, what kind of habitual or negative communicative habits do you have, you know, or things that you say often that you would like to release? And, you know, what are ways that you want to be able to communicate with people in more positive ways, you know, certain people or whatever. You can be specific or you can keep it general, but I do personally try to stick within as much as possible the energy. And I base any creative exercises or any additional things that we do based around the theme of the astrological moon of that month. That way we're working on the particular chakra that's really being activated by that month. We're working with the element of that zodiac sign, work with the color, work with even sometimes the music of. So that's my recommendation to you. I really feel like adding all the elements and adding all the senses a lot of times. So, you know, sound, scent, vision, touch, you know, all that kind of stuff. I think it really helps bring the experience full circle for people, especially in a circle where it's all about really trying to be as immersive as possible within the moment. So I would encourage you to look up, I mean, there's a lot of resources online of, you know, type in what is this kind of zodiac, you know, what zodiac sign is this moon in, and, you know, what is the element of the heart chakra, and, you know, what is the number that's associated with it, and maybe even use mantras that repeat that particular number. I would encourage you to do some kind of, there's always a lot of self-education, you know. There's things that we know personally, but there's a lot we can learn that we can add into our circles, either from online resources or going to other people's circles and really feeling some of the things that they've done and bringing it